Most people who know the Harry Potter books know that Hagrid stores his wand in an umbrella, and he does magic under the radar. But a lesser known Easter egg, and a fan theory that a lot of people have, is that Dumbledore likely mended Hagrid's wand with the Elder Wand after Hagrid was expelled and his wand was snapped in half. And that is the reason that he is able to do magic and that the umbrella can actually perform magic, because a broken wand cannot really do that. But I am John. I am reading Harry Potter for like the 20th time in my life, and I'm writing a ton of essays on the cool parts of the book, as well as talking about some Easter eggs and some fun fan theories and everything of each chapter that I read. So make sure you subscribe if you're into that sort of thing, especially with the HBO series coming out, because I'm very, very excited for that. And I just cannot wait to talk more about that. And today's video is just all about the Easter eggs and some of my favorite random fan theories about the fourth chapter of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which is the Keeper of the Keys. Let's start with number 1. In the book, Hagrid begins by taking a number of things out of his jacket pocket when he sees Harry. The book says this: "The giant sat back down on the sofa, which sagged under his weight, and began taking all sorts of things out of the pockets of his coat. A copper kettle, a squashy pack of sausages, a poker, a teapot, several chipped mugs, and a bottle of some amber liquid that he took a swig from before starting to make the tea." Hagrid's jacket now could certainly hold all of these things because he's massive. And the point of the book's making this note again is that Hagrid is so massive that all of this really could easily store in his jacket. But I think the more likely answer is that Hagrid has potentially used an extendable charm on the jacket pockets of, his massive overcoat, much like Hermione does to the beaded handbag, or that Newt Scamander does for his briefcase. Otherwise, Hagrid is just carrying around a lot of weird stuff in his pockets. Number 2 is in the same paragraph as the first point that we have, and it has 2 different interpretations, I think. It is the amber liquid that Hagrid drinks, because I think it is most likely fire whiskey or mead or something like that. Now, if he kept drinking this, it would explain the short-sightedness of Hagrid not telling Harry how to get on platform 9 3/4. But I like a different theory. I believe that this potion is actually a little bit of liquid luck. And it wore off right after Hagrid left Harry, because everything seems to be governed by this fate. Now, liquid luck is golden, this is amber, but I'm guessing that's because of the bad lighting in the cabin right now. Because Hagrid, he puts a pig's tail on Dudley, and it just so happens that the very same day that the Dursleys are going to London is the same day that Harry needs to leave on the train to go to Hogwarts. And I would like to remind you that this tail on Dudley has been there for a month. And it's also interesting because I really believe that Hagrid was prodded by the liquid luck to not tell Harry how to get onto the platform. Because then, if he did, he may never have met the Weasleys and would never have really sat by Ron. I think that the whole thing was really governed by the liquid luck. And that I almost think that Hagrid drank it by Dumbledore's orders so that things would really go well. Now, it's just kind of becoming one of my headcanons. It's kind of just a fun theory, but I don't know. What do you think about that one? Number 3, though, is a small difference in the most famous line of this book and the movie. In the movie, Hagrid says, "You're a wizard, Harry." In the book, the line is, "Harry, you're a wizard." Now, this is small, but in writing, you're always supposed to put the surprise at the end of the sentence. So Rowling does really great there. It's more rewarding for an audience. But in speaking, the emphasis can kind of be anywhere it needs to be honest, because we process these things different in our ears than in our eyes. So I really like this change, and I think it's kind of a good one. But it's really a change of the most famous line in the movie, probably. Now, number 4 is the mystery surrounding how Lily and James Potter died. Hagrid says this: "Now your mom and dad were as good a witch and wizard as I ever knew. Head boy and girl at Hogwarts in their day. Suppose the mystery is why you-know-who never tried to get him on his side before. Probably knew they were too close to Dumbledore to want anything to do with the dark side. Maybe he thought he could persuade him. Maybe he just wanted him out of the way. All anyone knows is he turned up in the village where you was all living on Halloween 10 years ago. You was just a year old. He came to your house and Now, this is a small little note for the reader. It's like one of those little Easter eggs that we are supposed to be curious about what has really happened here. And we only really come to understand this point in the book, in the 5th book. It is a really good bit of writing that leaves the readers in suspense, asking these questions and waiting for a long time to get our answers. Now, number 5, 6, and 7 are all connected, but they're all tragic. There are 3 names mentioned in a paragraph in this chapter. Hagrid says, "No one ever lived after he decided to kill him. No one except you. And he'd killed some of the best witches and wizards of the age. The McKinnons, the Bones, the Pruitts. And you was only a baby and you lived." Now, this is tragic, but the McKinnons were actually mentioned later in the book. We know very little about them, but in the letter from Lily in book 7, we learn that Lily cried for a whole night after she learned the McKinnons died. Now, the Bones are even more devastating, and they're a family that has probably been most broken apart in this book and all the books. Perhaps even the most tragic tale in this entire story. Susan Bones is a student at Hogwarts. Her parents were killed by Voldemort during the First Wizarding War. Her grandparents were killed then too. Her uncle was killed, but Amelia Bones, her aunt, was still alive. During the Second Wizarding War, Amelia Bones was killed, and Susan likely had very little family left after the war and the Battle of Hogwarts. Susan herself survived through the books, but I think a separate book and story on what happened to her and how she would have to endure after this would be a fantastic series. Poor Susan. But the Pruitts are probably the most sad tale of this, because this one hits a little closer to home. Gideon and Fabian Pruitt were murdered by Anton Dolohov and 5 other Death Eaters during the First Wizarding War. These twins were also the brothers of Molly Weasley. I guess twins run in the family. This likely explains why Molly is so protective of her children and over Harry, but also equally devastating is the fact that Molly gives Harry Fabian's golden watch when Harry comes of age. I think this is a sign that Harry truly belongs in that family now. That he is a Weasley for all Molly knows, and a true son of hers. It is beautiful and absolutely tragic. Now on to a more fun theory. Number 8 is the pink umbrella theory. As I said in the beginning of this video, I think this only really makes sense that Hagrid had his wand mended by Dumbledore as a sign that Dumbledore truly believed he was innocent. That this is why Hagrid has such loyalty to him as well. But I also believe that Hagrid can perform magic with his pink umbrella because this is a mended wand. The second book proves that a broken wand can't really do magic. So how could Hagrid really do magic if this wand was broken or snapped in two? So to me, this has to be the mended wand of Hagrid inside this umbrella. No other question besides that one. Number 9 is a hint at the horcruxes. Hagrid says, "Some say he died. Codswallop, in my opinion. Don't know if he had enough human left in him to die." Now this brings the reader's mind to the idea that Voldemort loses some of his humanity in order to make a horcrux. Because in order to make a horcrux, you need to rip apart your soul and murder. This line gives us one of the biggest things that Voldemort, or one of the biggest hints that Voldemort isn't fully human, that he's a horcrux. He's been ripping his soul apart piece by piece. And this is only in the 4th chapter of book 1. Now, number 10 is a little thing that Harry mentions about Harry's name being down for Hogwarts since the day that he was born. The book says this: "His name's been down ever since he was born. He's off to the finest school of witchcraft and wizardry in the world." And it begs the question, how are students accepted into the school in the first place? Well, this is all a little thing to do with something called the Book of Admittance and the Quill of Acceptance. Rowling has written this: "In a small locked tower, never visited by any student at Hogwarts, sits an ancient book that has not been touched by human hands since the 4 founders placed it there on completion of the castle. Beside the book, which is bound in peeling black dragon hide, stands a small silver ink pot, and from this protrudes a long faded quill. These are the Quill of Acceptance and the Book of Admittance, and they constitute the only process by which students are selected for Hogwarts, School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. At the precise moment that a child first exhibits signs of magic, the quill, which is believed to have been taken from an augury, floats up out of its ink pot and attempts to inscribe the name of that child upon the pages of the book. Those few who have observed the process, now several headmasters and headmistresses, have enjoyed spending quiet hours in the book and the Quill's tower, hoping to catch them in action, agree that the Quill might be judged more lenient than the book. A mere whiff of magic suffices for the Quill. The book, however, will often snap shut, refusing to be written upon until it receives sufficient dramatic evidence of magical ability. And so an example of a student who actually had to wait to get written down was our very own Neville Longbottom. When he was born, the Quill attempted to write his name in the book, but the book snapped shut. And it wasn't until later on, when Neville was 8, that the book actually allowed Neville's name to be written down. The book, magically, has also never been wrong. So that is how students are accepted into Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. But number 11 is the final one, and it's a small Easter egg, and it's an idea that comes up later when Hagrid mentions that he was expelled and his wand was snapped in two. Now, this is the whole entire plot of the second movie, but it's just something small, and it's a little Easter egg for us fans to have questions that need answering in these books when we finish. So, it's a fun little point, but that's all I got for you today. Let me know what else you have found in this chapter. Let me know what you think of these ones. And again, let me know any other good Easter eggs that you like in this story or any other fan theories. But make sure you subscribe. You can like the video as well, and I'll see you in the next one.